I've heard people say this technique's like amazing. In today's video, I'm going to learn every possible technique to shoot a football.
Sometimes a shooting technique will come along that changes the game. For example, when players learned they could put curve on the ball, strikers were scoring goals for fun. Then when players mastered the knuckleball, we saw some crazy long distance goals being scored that we never thought were possible.
But in recent years, there's a few techniques that players have used to help score more goals, and in today's video, I'm going to be learning all of them.
So in this video, I'll learn 9 different ways of striking a football, all that have their own advantages and sometimes disadvantages. There's some that you might not have seen before, and maybe 1 or 2 that all the pros will have in their game, and so do you, but you probably never use it.
So the first shot is one that is probably the easiest technique of the video. It's the power shot. So the technique for this shot is pretty simple. I'm just going to strike the ball with my laces, hope for the best.
So I would say that's the power shot successfully complete. On to the next one.
So next up, we've got a technique that is probably one of the most important techniques in all of football, one of the most effective in the game. Right, so with the curve technique, I mean, everyone knows this one. It's all about hitting it kind of here and wrapping your foot around the ball to generate that curve. I mean, I feel like this is a technique that I don't need to practice too much. Oh, there you go.
So I hit some shots and I didn't really feel like there was much to learn with this. Obviously it's something that you learn when you're very young, and after the power shot, probably the most used shooting technique in the whole of football.
Oh! Mate, these have been actually decent.
These shots show you a bit better the curve on the ball.
Same.
So yeah, that's the curve ticked off quite easily. But I'm sure the rest of the techniques in this video won't be done quite as smoothly. Now, the next shooting technique is one that when I first saw, I thought it would be pretty easy, but it turns out that's not the case.
So some people say that this shooting technique is for people who don't have a weak foot, and that includes me, so I should probably learn this one. It's just like... So the premise of this shot is similar to a curve, just with the outside of your boot. So I'm just going to try kicking across the ball and hoping it kind of curves into the top corner. So I don't know how to run up. Do you run up straight or to the side? The thing is, it's really hard to get a lot of power on these shots.
So it's safe to say that from the off, I was terrible at these. I just couldn't seem to get any power on them and was scuffing the floor every time.
Oh God, it's just getting worse. Oh my day. Do you know some people, there's certain skills in football they just can't do? This is mine. I'm so bad at Trevellas.
So after scuffing the ball about 50 times, the surface looked like this and my boots like this. That's never a good sign. But then I decided to change what I was doing. I tried to be a bit more relaxed when shooting and not trying to hit the ball so hard, and it actually worked. Think of it like a golf shot, technique over power. So by the end of this session, a very good improvement, and I was even able to hit 2 beauties in a row. So I would say that's the Trevella complete. Now onto the next shot, and it's one you really don't see very often, and it's very technical. At first glance, it's hard to figure out how it's even done.
Right, so this one is a secret technique that not many pros will use, although there is one in particular that is kind of named after, the Özil bounce. I don't really know how we're going to do this. Let's just give it a go and try and learn it.
So Özil has figured out a way of taking a shot so that when one-on-one with the goalkeeper, it can look like he's playing it on the ground, but instead make the ball jump over the goalie.
Alright, so it's kind of just like... Oh, that's difficult. Huh? Hey, that was it. Alright, I got it now. I reckon just bring the keeper in and we'll try it.
So I managed to get the hang of this fairly quickly. It was a case of just kicking the ball from a higher angle than usual, hitting it kind of into the ground basically, and that causes the ball to have a little jump, which is exactly what we want.
Oh, it's harder to do it when you're moving.
To make sure I'd learn this shot, I wanted to be able to do it past the goalkeeper.
Oh, oh, that was it. That was perfect. All right, Erzul bounce technique completed.
So next up we have what, in my opinion, is probably the most beautiful shooting technique of all time, and I don't think there's going to be many people who will disagree. It is, of course, the half volley.
Now, if you've never done the half volley technique before, it can actually be pretty tricky because it's all about timing. It's timing when the ball bounces off the floor and then kicking it just after, which if you've not practiced it yet, can be pretty tough. Boom. There it is. There you go. Right, I think it's fair to say we've learnt the half volley technique. Right, so next up we've got a technique that we don't see too much of in real games, to be honest, but when everyone sees it, they love this technique. It's the rabona.
The rabona is easily one of the rarest shooting techniques there is, and we rarely see it in professional games, but it's actually a lot easier than it looks. I started off by getting some tips from DC, as he's very good at this technique. He showed me how it was done, and then I just had some attempts.
Yeah.
This is a shooting technique I've done quite a bit over the years, so I was able to pick it up fairly easily.
Oh! See, the thing is with that technique, it's so difficult to kind of get the power as well, but... Yes, there it is. All right, that's the rabona technique complete.
Now, before I learn the one technique that all pros will keep in their game, we have what is probably the hardest shot of the video. Of course, this was always going to be on the list of shots to learn.
Oh, the knuckleball. Easily, in my opinion, the hardest shooting technique in all of football. I really don't think there's any way to kick a football more difficult than this. Although it's probably the only technique in this video that you can accidentally do. Now, I'm not a knuckleball expert by a long stretch, but it's all about hitting the ball kind of on this bit of your foot, and as soon as you hit it, no follow through, kind of stop and lock your ankle, and that should make the ball move with no spin.
Now, as you're about to find out, that's easier said than done. A knuckleball is basically hitting the ball with as little spin as possible. So I got my smart ball out and tried to find out how little spin I could actually put on the ball. A standard shot like this was over 200 revolutions per minute. Whereas on the shots that knuckled, they were spinning around 50 revolutions per minute. You can really see the difference in slow motion on the spin. For a normal shot, spinning loads, and a knuckleball hardly spins once by the time it reaches the goal. What came first, the volley or the half volley? I'm not sure, but this is up there with one of the most deceptively difficult shooting techniques there is.
Oh, this is hard, this.
I wasn't having much success hitting the volley straight on, so I decided to go for a more sidewinder technique. And I started to see some better results.
I feel like I'm learning this technique, even if I've not scored a banger yet. It's definitely helping. Oh. Yeah!
So by the end of the session, I was hitting consistently good volleys. And then DC showed me up at the end by hitting this beauty.
Oh! Oh my days!
Now the final shot is one they say you should never take out of your game, and potentially it's the first way you ever learn to kick a football, and something that all the pros will have in their locker should they need it.
Right, toe poke technique. Honestly, there's not much to say here. Just literally hit the ball with your toe. I don't know if you can really, you know, have accurate shots with it. You kind of just got to go for it. So that's what I'm going to do.
So I tried it out and I was having some success.
Mate, this toe poke could be the new technique, you know.
So I decided to do a little test.
10 shots normal, 10 shots toe poke. We'll see which scores more.
So 3 goals scored with the normal shots.
And the river always flows, tears of gold.
That hurts, man. Oh, come on. The toe poke is a new technique, man. Everyone needs to learn it.
So 2 goals scored with the toe poke boots.
Oh, the power. Toe is hurting after that though, 100%.
So the normal shots win this round. Now this technique is one that over the years has been called incredibly underrated, which is why all the pros will still use it if necessary. Thought to be so underrated in fact, they even created boots to help players use it more. The best use for a toe poke is when you don't have time for backlift or a run up before shooting. Look how much quicker I was able to get a shot off using the toe poke, whilst also having a lot more power. But one thing I will say about this technique though, is it really hurts.
Ah! Oh, alright. That's enough toe poke.